Michael, you once said it's not Robert's ego, it's ego's Robert. Yeah. And you said today really stunned me, and I thought, why didn't I realize this? There is only one ego, eka-jiva-vada. So one ego. So, and Michael is teaching not Robert, but teaching ego, the one ego. That's who he's teaching all the time. When you said that, it stunned me. So if Michael is teaching that one ego all the time, when that one ego wakes up, and right now Robert's ego is feeling a bit stupid to ask this question, why don't we all wake up? And when I say all, I'm talking about the phantom beings, if you will, or the phantom appearances in the dream simply dissolve or disappear because they're non-existent. Why, when you're teaching this one ego, why, when it awakens, doesn't everything awaken? Why is there still not, well, and you get the point.
Okay, I get the point, yes.
Yeah.
When you wake up from a dream, do you worry about all the people in your dream who may still be sleeping?
No.
No. So when the one ego wakes up, all the others that you're talking about exist only in the view of that one ego. So this is why Bhagavan often used to say the greatest good you can do to the world is to know yourself. Because if you know yourself as you actually are, you thereby wake up from this dream. And thereby you put an end to all the wars, all the famines, all the pandemics, all the misery in this universe is ended simply by you waking up.
But this also
that doesn't mean Robert waking up. It means ego waking up to its own real nature.
This comes to the point, though, that nothing actually, in fact, ever happens.
No. It all seems to happen. Whatever happens seems to happen only in the view of ego. But when we as ego turn our attention back to ourselves to find out what we actually are, we will see that we were never ego. We are always that immaculate, motionless I, the pure awareness I.
But this goes back to Gaudapada's character where it said nothing actually happens.
Exactly, yeah. That's what Bhagavan made it clear. The ultimate truth is ajata.
Yes.
But what many people don't understand, Bhagavan also said, but ajata is not a teaching. Yeah. Because in ajata, there is no one bound, there's no one seeking liberation, there's no need for any teaching in ajata. But teaching, that is, if you go to a doctor with some serious illness, and the doctor says, oh, you're not ill, that doctor's not going to help you. So a doctor can help you only if they acknowledge, but at least there's a seeming problem. So the teachings are given from the perspective of drishti shrishti vada. That is, Bhagavan concedes, yes, there is an ego, and that ego sees a world. So because we see the world, he starts uludunapadu. The we he's referring to there is ego. Because when we rise as ego, we see a world and we have problems. The world gives us so many problems. We have hunger and thirst and birth and death and all these pleasures and pains, health and sickness, all these joys and sorrows of life all come only because we rise as ego and consequently see the world. So Bhagavan concedes, but yes, there is an ego. Or no, he doesn't say concede, but he says, yes, there seems to be an ego. And he says, if that ego comes into existence, then only everything else comes into existence. If that ego doesn't exist, nothing else exists. So ego itself is everything. And since the nature of ego is that is, we rise, stand, and flourish of ego by looking at other things, by looking outwards, away from ourselves. If instead of looking outwards, we look inwards, there's no such thing as ego to be found. Therefore, he concludes verse 26 of Uludunapadu, therefore, investigating what it is giving up everything. Because if we investigate this ego will thereby cease to exist, and everything else will cease to exist along with it, because everything else exists only in the view of ego. So what Bhagavan teaches us is extremely simple. But it is extremely radical, and most of us are not yet ready to accept that. It's because we're not ready to accept it, but we raise so many questions, so many objections. But if we understand, if we are ready to understand Bhagavan's purpose and see from a perspective Bhagavan is trying to get us to see from, it couldn't be simpler. Everything exists only in the view of ego. Put an end to ego, you put an end to everything.
Thank you.
So if you liberate yourself, you liberate the whole world. So please liberate yourself so that we may be liberated.